Welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast. I'm your host, Madeline Anderson, and I'm thrilled to bring you honest conversations with dads and daughters, sharing heartfelt stories, actionable advice, and real daughter perspectives that will help you be the best girl dad you can be. Joe Carr, welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast.
Hey, thanks. So glad to be here.
So glad to have you on. I was just on yours about an hour ago, so really excited to have you on and talk about your relationship with your daughter and your business that you're running, which is very exciting. But would love to just start off by you introducing yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Joe Carr. I live in Austin, Texas. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Della, best girl ever, and married to Serenity. And Serenity and I both had long journeys with health, a lot of food issues, and I'm actually autistic, wasn't diagnosed as a kid. And she had a lot of like gut health issues and allergies and all kinds of stuff. And so we both found a lot of healing in food. So when we started planning to have a baby, we looked for healthy baby food and couldn't find anything that matched our standards. It was all just way high in sugar and super processed and no good meat or veggies. And so we set forth to create a better baby food, which is, we launched Serenity Kids Baby Food. It actually came out the same day our baby Della was born, which was not planned at all. And now, 7 years later, we are the fastest growing baby food in the country, fastest selling in all channels. We're like 20,000 stores nationwide, second top on Amazon, really, really successful baby food business because people really wanted really good meat and veggies for their babies. And then out of that came a desire to reach more dads. And so I've started Dedicated Joe, which is a online free educational resource for new dads, designed to be the new dad's guide to all the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father, and have podcasts and social channels and all kinds of cool free resources to help dads embody their dad journey.
I love it. Well, thank you for building this. I think it's so important. It's something I'm really passionate about as well. Uh, and it just in terms of like conversations that I'm having with my friends and thinking about having children, because food is so important and what you feed yourself is important, but especially what you feed these babies who are developing. And it's just like such a pivotal time for them to be getting the right nutrients. And I completely agree. The market, at least until recently, has been really lacking good options. And it's something my best friend Hallie, who lives in Texas as well, Austin, talk about all the time. So I love what you're doing. I think it's really, really important. Um, and would love to talk more about that journey in particular before we talk about your amazing daughter. I definitely want to get there, but just your journey of building this business with your wife, and so being parents and co-founders and business owners together. What is that like? What kind of advice do you have for people who are building businesses with their partners?
Yeah, it's amazingly common in America for people to run businesses with their partners or with other family members. Family business has a long history here. So we get asked this a lot, like, how do you do it? What advice do you have? We've joked about starting a support group for parents couples who run businesses together. But ultimately we launched the business before we had our daughter, but had our daughter in the process. So we've always kind of been both a couple and co-parenting and running the business. And so it's definitely challenging, lots and lots of challenges. A lot of the challenges are similar around like lots of using each other's skill sets. Like she's very technical, very organized, very cautious, and I'm very, crazy and free thinking and ideas and very, very verbal and extraneous, very extroverted. And so together we are a perfect match for the business. I run sales and marketing and she runs operations and finance. And same with our house, like she manages sort of the details of the house and I'm kind of the visionary and the spontaneous, something needs to be fixed right now, I can handle it. Which is great. It just also leads to conflict, because any decision she wants to move at a very slow, cautious pace. I want to just dive in and do it. And so we joke that the pace of our business and also the pace of our lives is too fast for her and too slow for me. So like we're always kind of meeting in the middle. But I think like what really makes it work is consistently valuing the other's strengths and
Mhm.
realizing that just because they're like really different from ours and isn't the way we'd approach it is why it all works. And we have so much evidence to show that that's the case, that the crazy fast decision I wanted to make that she pumped the brakes on was saved us from disaster. And like, the awesome thing that I pushed for that she was nervous about turned out to be great. So it's like we
Mhm.
have all these evidence we can look at. And same with our daughter, really, and with our life, like, she just realized she wouldn't do much anything new if on left to her own devices. So I'm, bringing a lot of excitement to the life, but I also realized that our house would probably burn down by now if she hadn't, been like careful with how we manage stuff. So it takes a lot of connection, a lot of collaboration. We have 3 meetings a week. We don't always have all 3. So, but like 1 to 2 to 3, at least 1, and a lot. I'm surprised so many couples don't ever have meetings. But, like, because we have business meetings, but we also talk about the house and our daughter and, like,
Mhm.
dedicated one-on-one kid-free time to with a agenda that is rolling, like, we're all both adding things to the agenda so that we can always talk about things in a clear way, make decisions together. And then date night, which we also try to do weekly and is probably more like 2 to 3 times a month, but then we have, like, non-working romantic time with each other, that we don't talk about work or the business of the house, in addition to time with our daughter one-on-one, time with family. So a lot of intention around building those relationships and staying connected because all of the progress and growth has come from the relationship, and that's number one.
Mhm. I love it. That is great advice. I'm here taking notes for my relationship as well, with my husband. But I think what you said is also just really applicable to life in general, right? Like understanding each other's strengths and connecting with your partner in those ways and appreciating what she's good at and understanding what you're good at. I mean, whether you're talking about parenting or just like living in the same household, those are really good things to just be aware of and acknowledge for one another, but especially when it comes to running a business. My husband and I, we actually met at work. He was my mentor when we were in finance, which is kind of funny, but he's only 2 years older and he had nothing to do with my pay. So it wasn't actually like as scandalous as it sounds. But anyways, it's very important to have distinct roles and not be taking on the same kind of thing, which works out because it's funny. I'm more like you and he's more like your wife. Like he's the finance guy. He actually stayed in finance and still is in finance to this day. He's a financial advisor. So anyways, I relate to a lot of what you're saying, and I think it's really important for having these, like, dedicated conversations and meetings, and, I love the idea of bringing those into the family, and I definitely wanna run that by my husband because every time we do sit down for one, like, whether it's a goal-setting meeting or, like, "Hey, can I get your thoughts on this?" And then I have, like, 3 things I wanna talk about. They always go so well, and, it just such great conversations are had, and I think it just takes carving that time out, in order to do it,
Yeah.
so.
Because otherwise you're talking about it at the dinner table, you're talking about it in the car, you're talking about passing, and it's fine for, like, a quick update, but if it's, like, controversial or that you start to,
Mhm,
like, disagree and you don't have the right time and space, now you're, like, in a fight. And one of my resolutions last year was to, like, to never ever fight about the business again, to never
mm,
let the business cause a fight, and that, took 7 years for us to realize that we should not be fighting about the business. But, like, that was, like, a critical commitment. It's like, we are
mhm,
gonna stop fight that the business is not supposed to create conflict. But definitely lanes and clear designated responsibilities, being very clear on whose responsibility is what and what the decision-making authority is, like, what decisions are joint decisions, because you just can't all make both decisions about everything, about the house, about the daughter, about the you can agree on general principles and alignment, and then you gotta let them make decisions, and of course, you can talk about it later and say, "Hey, I would've done it differently." But, like, in the moment, you can't debate everything, and in the house, the fair play model of household management has been really critical for that division of labor. It's a very
mm.
very crystal clear way of dividing whose jobs are whose in the house, and it takes, about 6 hours of meetings to, like, make that plan and agree on this is what it means to hold this responsibility or that one, but then once you have that laid out, it's, like, full autonomy, like, I know what
Mhm.
it means to have the trash handled, and I can do it however I want as long as the end result is there, and then, if there's an issue, my wife brings it to one of these meetings. She doesn't, criticize me over the
Mhm.
dinner table. Like, we write it down. So huge advocate for fair play for any couple. It's the only real proven way to ensure equity in household management so that women aren't doing more accidentally and to end that conflict around chores, which is one of the biggest areas of conflict. But particularly since we both worked and we both have the same job,
Mhm.
there was no reason that the household shouldn't be exactly 50-50, right? Like, and it wasn't, like, it still fell more to her, and that would cause problems. And I didn't want it to fall more to her. I was trying to do I believed it should be 50-50. But without fair play, we just didn't have the language to understand how much more she was doing and why and how
Mhm.
she could trust me to do it. And, that was really critical.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important, and it's really great for avoiding conflict too. I think humans, we love expectations and clarity, and so when you can draw those lines and really make sure everyone knows what their roles and responsibilities are and kind of what they should be focusing on, then it's just better for everybody. And I think it also makes it easier for you to recognize as a husband, I'm assuming, that it would make it easier to recognize what your wife is doing so that you can, give her praise and make her feel good about things because you know what she's responsible for. Because I think that's another thing that I hear from a lot of girls, wives, women, everything is just like a lack of acknowledgement for what they're taking on. And I think that's just a pretty common theme across the board. And so if you know exactly what she's working on, you can make sure to highlight, hey, like, thank you so much for doing that, by the way. Even if you know it's her responsibility, but it's like, thanks for doing that. I appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and
Um,
so good for girls to see
mhm,
both their moms and their dads sharing that equally, like, to see the dads fully engaged in the household, not just as helping out mom here and there, but, like, as
right.
owning the house, as his house, her house, making shared decisions together, and then fully executing so that there's no we're trying to break that pattern of girls being raised that they're more responsible for the house and boys being raised that they should get everything handed to them, which is how I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's totally fair, and I think that, again, there's a lot of good life lessons that come from that and what she sees and experiences when it comes to keeping your promises even. Like, "Hey, I said I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it," and that's a great thing for her to see, to follow through, to be hardworking, to be respectful, to be responsible. Those are all great qualities that, you're teaching her kind of secondhandly, even though that's maybe not your first intention when it comes to setting these kind of roles and responsibilities, but they're great kind of aftermaths of the situation. So yeah, I love that. I think that's really important. So let's talk about your daughter more. Because that's, that's the
Ella.
podcast. That's Girl Dad.
Yes.
So yeah, tell me more about her. How would you describe her? What'd she like to do? How do you spend time with her?
Mhm. Della Ray Carr. Um,
Oh,
yeah, powerhouse, very, gifted with words. So she's talked very young. She is a very auditory learner. I kind of have a autographic memory, like, I can repeat things I hear, like, I hear a song once and I can sing it. And she's got
wow.
that. So she can, like, really, like, she learned big words really young and can express big ideas and concepts. She started writing stories really young, like making up stories, and now she, like, writes books, and she's actually done some podcasts. She started Della Stories by Della podcast. It's like storytelling. I haven't published any of them yet, but they're pretty cute. She
It's
sits there and tells
amazing.
stories. So she loves stories, she makes up songs, so she has a handful of songs she's written, so loves words, loves seeing talks to anybody, literally everywhere we go, she'll strike up a conversation with all these strangers, it just brightens everybody's day, like, everybody she goes and just chats, "Oh, I like your necklace," or like, "Oh, my daddy has shoes like that," or she'll just, like, just chat with people about anything. Loves her friends are everything to her, friends and stuffies. She ranks her order of priority, she says, "Stuffies are number 1, they're always there, they're never gonna leave me, They're super reliable, you know, I'm like, "I get that. Steffi's number 1," and then, like, family is second, like, mom and dad, you're number 2, and then our friends are third, and that's, like, the critical scheme of her life, and she has 2 best friends she's had for a few years, and then a third one that floats in and out. She's got a new third one this year, and she's, you know, all the kids in her class love her, and, like, I mean, she's just, like, the, you know, kinda popular girl, like, in the class, like, everybody wants to play with her, and she's just so outgoing and fun and playful and sweet and caring, and just, yeah, very creative, loves to draw as well. She's been drawing prolifically, just drawing all the time, and loves animals. She wants to be an animal protector is one of her missions in life, to protect all
Oh.
the animals. She won't let me kill mosquitoes. She, like, cries if I kill a mosquito. So I have to, like, secretly kill mosquitoes or she'll get upset about it. So very, very big heart.
Oh, she sounds amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of that is because of you and your wife, so kudos to you, and, speaking of which, you know, when I was on your podcast an hour ago, you spoke about how you did dedicated days with your daughter, Saturdays, and then she had Thursdays with your wife, is that correct? Okay, tell me more about that. I think that's amazing, and it's so important that you develop this unique bond and you do activities together that are not just, you know, being around the house, hanging out.
Mm,
So, yeah, tell us
yeah.
more.
My wife's has 2 sisters, and so her dad was a triple girl dad like your dad. And she would tell me about, every year on their birthday, he would take them by themselves to lunch and have this, like, one-on-one time and how special that was to my wife, and I was like, that should be, like, every week, like, not once a year, you know? So I decided that you know, that I was gonna have, like, a dedicated one-on-one time, and then we had planned to have a second kid, so I was like, "I'm gonna do that with both, like, each kid gets one-on-one time from both of us every week," was the intention. So I created Saturday Daddy and Daughter Day. I'm a bit of a, amateur rapper, so it's a little fun thing to say. Yeah, it goes, Saturday Daddy and Daughter Day, Saturday Daddy and Daughter Day. What could be better than Daddy and Daughter on Saturday Daddy and Daughter Day? She can
Oh
sing
my
it.
gosh, I could
Yeah,
never repeat that.
yeah, yeah, I sing that
I
sometimes.
would get all jumbled.
And then I was gonna have Sunday Daddy and Sunday was the plan.
Oh my gosh.
But that's on hold for now, so we still Saturday night, or sometimes it is Sunday or another day of the week, but we'll still call it that. And, yeah, it's just a few hours, you know, of time spent together doing intentional time, and she looks forward to it. We have lots of other time during the week where we do things after school or as a family, but, you know, she really looks forward to that, and I make sure to prioritize some few hours over the weekend that's dedicated time with me and her.
It's amazing, and I think so many great memories come from those moments, especially outside of the house. Because you know, like, looking back, that's what me as a daughter and the other daughters that I interview, that's what we remember. It's the little things, but it's also just these unique moments that are out of the ordinary, right? Even car rides, honestly, I remember a lot of car rides with my dad and conversations that are had during that time because you're just kind of you're out of your normal context of living, and for some reason it just opens up great conversations and opportunities to connect. That's why I'm a big fan of goal setting outside of the house too, like even just, you know, going to a coffee shop or somewhere for lunch and writing down your goals together because I think just being outside the house, there's something special about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what kind of memories have you, made during these Saturday daddy-daughter days?
Yeah, you know, we always decide what to do. We love being outside, so, you know, I've taken her out. We have a little inflatable kayak. I take her out on the lake and be out
So
there and,
fun.
like, see the little turtles and things like that. We love festival, like big she's very social, she likes big events, like, with people, so there's Austin has lots of cool festivals. Renaissance Festival is my favorite, so we go to 3 Renaissance festivals a year. And my wife is not very into dressing up or going to these festivals, she's more introverted, so this is more our thing. My wife goes to one other Ren Fest with us a year just as a family thing. I have a costume I make her wear.
Oh,
But, yeah, so Dell and I pick out we have a variety of Renaissance costumes, fairies and witches and different costumes we've made, and so we kinda decide what characters we're gonna be and go out to those. She loves Comic-Con, we dress up as superheroes, go to Comic-Con. So, like, you know, planning those things in advance, she really looks forward to them.
that's amazing. I think, yeah, looking back again, there's so many memories that are made in times like that, and it's so special to connect and bond with your father doing fun things outside of the house. And another benefit to that is you're helping set her up for, I call it this force field. But when it comes to social media and the digital world, it can be really hard on girls, especially young girls and teenage girls. And the more memories that are made outside, in nature, like kayaking on the lake or just hanging out in person, the more this force field is kind of built so that when she's online in the future, online is just kind of like this other thing. It's not her
Mm,
life. And I
mhm,
think when your daughter is constantly on technology at a young age, that is her reality. And it's hard for us to understand, or I guess I'm technically Gen Z, so um it's hard for like my parents to understand because their whole life was no tech, and then so of course for them it's like just this other thing and they don't really care that much about it. But when you take a step back and you realize that some of these children are surrounded by technology, that's all they know, then it's very hard for them to separate, what matters with what shouldn't matter. So I think, yeah, I'm just such a fan of building those memories outside of the house and helping build that force field so that your daughter can be set up for success when it comes to the digital world challenges of
mm.
today.
Yeah, it's quite never thought about that.
Yeah, yeah, and it can get, like, really scary to think about too, and I know how easy it is, or I'm sure it's extremely easy as a parent to just kind of hand your daughter an iPad or, like, help just kind of distract her so that she's having fun in the moment, and that you can so that way you can do other things. But I really want dads to think about this subject and really be deliberate about how much time daughters are spending online, especially during those developmental years where they're just such formative years. And if that's her reality and that's her world, then it's going to be really hard in the future for her to understand where to draw the line and what she should care about. I think there's too many girls who are on social media for too many hours a day who are concerned about how their life compares to these other people and what that looks like, what beauty looks like. And everyone is just posting the best situations. It's like pretty unrealistic expectations of beauty, of what your daily life should look like, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of young girls who are watching videos of, like, days in the life, so they're almost, like, living through other people instead of, like, putting the phone down and, like, going out and living your life? I just am really passionate about that, and I think it needs more awareness brought to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about screens, and it's a hot topic. I'm gonna have another screen expert on my show to talk more about it. But like my wife said, she's found the best way to limit screen time is to create compelling other stuff to do.
Yes.
Like, rather than just talk about just here's your 2 hours a day or whatever, and then they're just, like, whining for more. It's just like, "Let's just do this thing. Let's go outside." It's harder to do, it's easy
Yeah.
to put limits on their iPad and then, make them try to find something, but, like, planning things, having a compelling outdoor environment. So we've done a lot to, like, make our house really engaging with fun, with musical instruments and art
Mhm.
supplies and climbing structure outside and a garden and plants, and she's got a fairy garden that we've built with little fairy houses and, lots of different compelling activities.
That's amazing. And that just reminded me of a core memory from my childhood. But I mentioned on your podcast that my dad is extremely handy. He's just knows how to fix everything or build stuff. He's an engineer. And one time when I was a kid, we had this attic and it was just for extra storage space. And he had this idea to turn it into a playroom. And so he and I together built this attic. I was a little girl, I had my, like, mask on, and we, like, built it, and the coolest part was, in order to access this attic, you had to, go into my closet in my bedroom and open the side, and then we built a rock wall. So you
Mm.
climbed up the
Wow,
rock wall into this attic, and then we built
cool.
a window, so the window looked out into the bedroom, and it was a really small place. I mean, you couldn't stand up. I could when I was a little girl, and I remember, when we, like, moved houses, I, like, went up there for the last time, and I was, like, all hunched over. I was an adult woman. I just kind of, like, cried a little bit because there were so many memories in this room, and we had, like, these, we painted the walls together, and every time a friend would come up, they would sign their name, so I was
Oh,
just, like,
fun.
looking around, there was all these
That's
memories.
cool.
Yeah, and it's just this amazing thing that my dad had this idea, he built it, and I helped him, but it was this space that my sisters and I and our friends, we would spend hours and hours and hours in this room playing pretend with our dolls, with our, like, fake food, and just being in this moment, and I have to give my dad all the credit for it because it was something that he made, but also, something that he didn't have to be present every second of us being in that room, but we still
Yeah.
thought of him when it comes to
Oh,
those
oh,
memories.
that's great.
So you're doing that. Yeah, you're doing that with your daughter as well, just even creating all these opportunities for her to play even with her friends or herself, but she's gonna think of you like, "Oh, my
Mm,
dad thought of that." So that's pretty
mm,
cool, you know?
yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so, again, big fan of all those kinds of fun memories that you can help curate, and of course, it takes a lot more work, as we mentioned, but I think intention is everything. And if you want to be this amazing girl dad and you want to have a great relationship with your daughter and you want to set her up for success, it takes, kind of these situations in order to do so.
Mhm. Yeah. One of my favorite I have a project like that I did with her. We, she had it was a spring showcase every year, and I've as soon as she would sing, she's a really great singer and she writes these songs, but she's been really shy about singing. But she says, "You know what? I could tell a story. Like, I don't wanna sing, but I have a story I could write." And she wrote this, really cool fairy story, and I was like, "What if we make costumes to, like, go with the characters of the story, and then we can do a photo shoot of the costumes and use the photos as, like, illustrations for the story, and then as you tell the story, I'll hold up big printouts of these." I thought maybe we could project it, but it's, like, outside during the day, so I had to actually print large foam core of
Yeah.
these photos, and so, of course, the story, like, evolved over time, and we made all 3 costumes, and I found the photographer, we did the outdoor photo shoot, and we had them edited, and I had her approve all the different edits and the design, and she helped with all the costumes, and then she got up, she wore her costume that day to tell the story, and she just nailed the story. I mean, I thought she would be,
Oh.
like, a little bit awkward or nervous or something, but she was just, like, calm and confident and just, like, told the story. The audience was, like, eating out of her hand, showing the pictures, and people loved them, and, like, everybody just, like, came up to her afterwards, and, like, she just was so proud of, that experience and, like, so proud, and then we have those big pictures that we put up in her playroom, like, put them on the wall so she can see them, and we have the costumes we still wear sometimes, but it was really
Oh, that's amazing. And that is so good for her confidence and her self-worth, something that we talked a lot about on your podcast. And yeah, I love that example. Thank you for sharing. And on that note, you actually had some really great tips for building your daughter's self-worth and making sure that she knows that she's worthy of your time and attention. Would love to just chat more about that because this is a really important topic, and I know all the dads out there want to know how to make sure that their daughter has a strong sense of confidence and self-worth.
Yeah, and, I'm autistic, and so I was not diagnosed as a child, and so I had a very big energy and very big desires, lots of weird things I wanted to do, and, my mom tried her best to, like, accommodate them, but a lot of them couldn't be accommodated. A lot of my ideas or my thoughts or my feelings, just they didn't have the skills to process, and teachers certainly didn't. So there's a lot of time I was invalidated, so it's really important to me, to, like, really validate her interests and her desires and her feelings and her thoughts and ideas, and my, wife really shared that as well, wanting to really, like, help her become her own person, and there's so many risks with girls having low self-esteem. I mean, the riskiest behaviors, and all kids really, but especially with girls, stem from this kind of low self-esteem. And there's so many messages in society that eat at girls' self-esteems, from the body images in the media to the way girls are portrayed in movies, and to social media, as you said. And it's getting better. The representations of the media are a lot better than they were when I was a kid. So I see progress being made. But you can't drive anywhere with a billboard without seeing a billboard with a very specific looking woman on it. Like there's still a lot of those body image and objectification going on. So it's been really important to me to try to really combat that by really making time for her first and foremost, like when she asks for it. So I schedule like the Saturday and daughter day. But if she's like, Daddy, I need to talk to you, Daddy, I need to tell you something, Daddy, can I ask you a question? It's always like, if I can, like whatever it is, undivided attention. If I need to tell her to wait a minute because I'm in the middle of something, I'll tell her, but then I'll come back and like make sure that she gets my undivided attention, and like that whatever she needs, whatever she asks for. And if she wants something, I try to give it to her. I can't say yes to everything. But like try our best to figure out a way to have it, even if it's risky or expensive or unreasonable or whatever it is. Like, what is the spirit of it? How can we find that for you, to try to like make it clear that her wants and her desires are valuable, and we want to meet her needs. We want to make her happy. We're not worried about spoiling her around like giving her too much of what she wants. Like I think that we'd rather her feel like her desires and what she wants is great, and like pursue her desires, pursue her dreams, and this idea that anything's possible and that she can do anything, something I talk about a lot. And I go in and brainwash her while she's sleeping. So every night I go and kind of tuck her in after she's gone to bed and whisper things in her ear like, you're loved and you're safe and you're powerful, you can do anything, I'll love you no matter what, I'm always here for you, you're wanted, you're amazing, you're generous, you're kind, like all those kinds of things I like to whisper in her ear and make sure she knows that unconsciously, and then also live that moment to moment.
Love it. Those affirmations are all so important. And, whether you're subconsciously saying them to her or even just, throughout the day, I think those are all just wonderful things for her to hear. Especially, I'm always here for you. I think there's something so powerful for little girls and even women, to know that your dad has your back. And that can mean a lot of different things, but I find such comfort in knowing that my dad does have my back, and now I have a husband who also I know has my back and will support me no matter what. And I've talked to a lot of other girls about this when interviewing them or even just in casual conversations, and we all say the same thing. Like, having a dad who we know has our back is like the thing that makes us feel so safe and so secure. So I think those are really powerful words and something that everyone can say more often. We talked a little bit about men versus women thinking on your podcast, but for men and for fathers, that's probably very obvious. Like, of course I have my daughter's back, right? Like, obviously. But hearing it over and over, it makes us emotionally feel so secure, even if it is like obvious to you. So love that. And I also really love what you said about the distractions and kind of putting things away and being present with her. And again, this is so important for self-worth, because you're telling your daughter that she's worthy of your time and she's worthy of your attention. And that teaches her that she is wanted and worthy of other people's time and attention. So then her self-worth, is heightened. So for the dads out there who are, in the middle of an email or like doing something and it's just not good timing, which I'm sure happens all the time, just be really careful about how you kind of frame the situation so that your daughter knows that she's worthy of your time and attention. So that might be exactly what you said, Joe, kind of letting her know, like, hey, I want to hear this so bad and I love you. I just need 1 minute to finish this up and then I'm all yours, if that's what you need to do, right? So if you need to close something out, do it, but set the expectations kindly. Don't be like, I'm in the middle of something, or, shut her down. Even if that's, sometimes natural. And if you do, again, it's okay to mess up, but apologize and make sure she really feels those feelings of she is worthy of your time and attention. And that's the end goal. So whether that's putting your phone down immediately or setting a quick boundary, letting her know you're going to be available for her on the other side of that, or unfortunately messing up and then making sure that she's aware of those feelings. But either way, I think yeah, so important.
Yeah, I think apologizing is such an underutilized tool. I don't remember an adult ever apologizing to me.
Yeah.
I imagine it probably happened, but, like, it was certainly not anything that happened regularly, and they had to have made mistakes, right? Like, obviously, as a parent, as a teacher, they had to have did stuff that they regretted, so there was some kind of culture of, like, it was bad to apologize or something, but, yeah, my wife and I both apologize to our daughter almost every day. It's like, probably doesn't day doesn't go by that we don't make some mistake. Yeah, or like, at least every it's frequent, and I told my daughter this, I'm like, "Wait, nobody apologized." She can't imagine adults not apologizing. Her teachers apologized to her, like,
Mhm.
like, there's we've really changed that cultural thing, but, like, really encourage it's, parents to model that, and I think especially dads with daughters to show that men can make mistakes, that we can show up, that we can, take accountability for that we can have our own feelings about it, or feel their feelings, and try to learn and be better.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that because I think, in a typical man sense, and we talked a little bit about masculinity as well, but there's strength is a natural male quality, right? And I think in the past, people have associated strength with like not messing up. And I think there is such strength, and it takes strength and courage to admit when you're wrong and to talk about it. But the aftermath of that is amazing. She can learn so much through your mistakes and through you apologizing or kind of talking through it and maybe why you accidentally said this or what you should have said instead or whatever the situation may be. There's so much learning there. And by not, addressing it and just kind of like letting it go, there's left some kind of unspoken awkwardness or whatever it may be, but you're also depriving her of an opportunity to learn about a given situation. So when it makes sense, I think you sit down and you make it a formal apology and you talk through things and let her learn from you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I did a little miniature episode on, raising feminist daughters or something like that. I don't remember what I called it, raising powerful women. I think girl dads to raise powerful women or something like that. And a big part of that is like, modeling the kind of man that I would want her to bring into her life, whether it's as a romantic partner or as friends or whatever relationship with men she has, taking very seriously, how I would want her to be treated by
Mhm.
by men, and treating both her and also her mom that way so that that becomes normal to her that if a man hurts her feelings, he apologizes. If
Mhm.
she says, "No, I don't want to be touched right now. I don't want that thing right now," that he respects that. He doesn't push stuff on her. And same with my wife. If she has a boundary, that I noticeably, respect that or help her respect that. That I value things like power and uh, confidence and creativity, and ingenuity and courage. That those are things I value in her and women, not just physical. And
Mhm.
and I noticed myself using. She loves to do a lot of pretend play, a lot of character pretend play,
Mhm.
little action figures, having conversations and going through different situations. And I noticed this habit to, have the, like, male character. She's always liked romance stories, so it's like, have this character, he falls in love with her, and, like, I noticed my inclination was to be like, "Ooh, she's so beautiful, I wanna fall in love, I wanna love her." I was like, I had to really, like, train myself out of, like, going to beauty first as, like, the thing the male character would like in the female character and say, "Oh, she seems really kind. She seems really powerful. She's very
Mhm.
inspiring." Like, she looks like she's got, like, people really respect her, like, and try to really train myself to do that even in pretend play as well as in the way I talk about her and her mom.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think a lot can be learned in those situations and highlighting the characteristics, not the physical attributes, that you find important. is really important. There was something that we talked about on your podcast, and it was more about highlighting the effort, not the outcome. So it's kind of the same thing. So, you're highlighting the characteristics and the personality types and the things that are really important to her character rather than how she looks or how the figure looks, right? Because she's learning during those situations too. So yeah, I think that's great. And I'm glad you're taking the initiative and being really mindful of those things because, again, these are formative years, and she's learning a lot from you. And you're setting the bar for what she expects in a relationship, and that's what I think fathers do at the end of the day. That's so important. They set the bar of how the daughters should be treated by another man, or the bar between your relationship with your partner and what she should expect when it comes to being in a formal relationship. And my friends and I have this conversation all the time. We're like, we're so grateful for our dads because our expectations were always here. And if we were experiencing anything that was less than that, it was like not even worth our time, and you move on and you're always looking for somebody who can live up to or exceed the expectations that your dad has set in place for you. And if you can set those really high and make sure that she knows that that's what she's worthy of, then she's going to find a lot more success in relationships later down
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah. And talk about how we contribute to our daughter's happiness. I mean, we want nothing but our daughters to be happy. And what a great better way than to set her up to be in a relationship for her life. She's going to spend a lot more time with her future partner than us. We get her like 18 years and then, whatever, how often we see them after that. But like she's going to possibly spend 40, 50 years with that partner. And which is, most likely to be a man in her case. And so like to have influence over that, like I'm not going to be able to pick her husband for her when it comes time. She's going to have to pick that. Wow, what I have this, these, 18 years or whatever to like dramatically inform who she picks, and all just by being the best version of myself and to be the man that I would be proud for her to marry. And then that contributes to her happiness. But man, that also means that I'm going to get somebody as cool as me in our lives. When she gets married, like I get to have a cool dude. It's like, gonna vibe with me because it's like, oh, cool. I get to shape that. So it's like a huge opportunity, huge responsibility. I think it happened no matter what. I don't have control over it. Like she's going to model it after me, good or bad. So might as well use that as the calling to be like the best, most respectful, most empowering, most emotionally mature man that I could be.
Absolutely. And you can feel really good about it at the end of the day because you're putting in that effort, and no matter who she ends up with, you know that you set that bar for her so that she is in the best place possible. Okay, so at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned why you started Dedicated Joe. And I want to touch on that a little bit because, there's no manual for becoming a dad, especially a girl dad. Um, so if you were to write this said manual, what do you think the most important chapter or theme would be?
Mm. I think it would be a chapter on shame. I think that shame is the enemy. I think it is if there's one thing a parent or a teacher or a caregiver or anybody interacting with a kid, if there's one thing you can focus on, it's avoiding shame. And there's so many opportunities for shame in our society, so much external forces saying you did this wrong, you're not as good as that, judging you, so they're going to get that. They're going to get judged. They're going to get, this shame message. And a huge portion of our parents' generation and all of them before that was basically a shame-based model for kids, like
Mhm.
how you use shame as a weapon or they would say a tool to make kids turn out right. And I think it's the root of all of our challenges. It's our emotional
Hmm.
issues, our issues with addiction and mental emotional disorders and sexual and domestic violence and divorce rates and like all, like lack of performing in careers. And, like I just think it all comes back to shame. It's this idea that I'm somehow worthless, I'm not good enough. This message that something's wrong with me that I got very intensely as an autistic kid, but I think all kids of our generation got a little bit of hope. Maybe you didn't get it because your dad didn't shame you. But like to me, that's the thing is like anything else you do, if it's not shame, you're probably good. Like if you're avoiding that,
Mhm.
then anything else is great. And of course, the opposite of shame is like we're talking about self-worth. You're valuable. You matter. Your feelings are okay. Like everything you do is natural. It's part of who you are. It's like even if we make mistakes, like it's okay. We make up for our mistakes. Like just really like keeping shame out of that and
Mhm.
replacing that with acceptance and understanding and support, and being a trusted advisor rather than authority figure.
Mhm.
Rather than like we're here to control you, which is really shame is used as a control mechanism. We're here to guide you to trust. You're going to become who you're going to become. We can't control who you're going to be. We can barely even control what you do in our house.
Mhm.
Like on the moment, day to day, like we can't watch you all the time. So like we have to accept that we can't control you, and that the best we can do is be good models, be good guides, be available to you when you have questions, and really set ourselves up as like a trusted mentor rather than as a feared authority figure.
Right. That's exactly why Girl Dad Network's slogan is "Be your daughter's North Star." I think being that figure to look to have support, to be there no matter what, that's what a dad can be. And yeah, that's we've never really talked about shame on this podcast, but the way you just described that, I think, yeah, that is so important. And I love kind of, preventing it by focusing on those opposites, like focusing on confidence, focusing on building that self-worth, that force field, all those things that help her be in the real world and feel really good about who she is and what she can accomplish. So, um, love that. And yeah, we're actually coming up on time here. So if you could just close out with the final piece of advice for any dads out there with daughters, yeah, would love to hear it.
Hmm. I think advice for any dad is use the opportunity of having a child, especially a daughter, to become your best self. They invite us to grow and to fully grow up to, they're like a rite of passage, right? They're like our opportunity to become better. There's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of struggles, there's a lot of things unknowns, like any new hard thing you do brings that, but the opportunity there is an enormous amount of growth. So as much as I want to do it for my daughter, I'm also in this for my own self, like for my growth, for my for my evolution, and becoming the best person I want to be in my life in general. That is inspired by my daughter.
I love it. Well, thank you, Joe. I so appreciate you coming on and sharing all of these different stories and advice. And I'm sure the audience really loved this episode as well.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get a baby food discount code for you.
Oh, yes. Please.
So yeah, so we could put that in the show notes.
Yes, I'll put it in the show
If you
notes.
got babies and you want baby food discount, and then otherwise you can check the products out at myserenitykids.com or search Serenity Kids on Amazon or really anywhere you shop, all grocery stores. And then dedicated Joe is dedicated Joe at dedicated Joe basically everywhere: YouTube, podcasts, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all those. Find me, dedicated Joe. Like, subscribe.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Joe. I really enjoyed this conversation and look forward to checking out your website.
All right, thanks, Madeline.
Thank you for tuning into Girl Dad, the podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow girl dad. I read every review and truly take your words to heart. To close out, remember, your intentional moments make lasting legacies. See you next week.